Hello everyone, I finished one vlog and I am starting another one because I'm me. I gave a bit of a tease in my channel posts at the start of the month about sort of the upcoming schedule and the fact that I had a new kind of project plan to tackle my physical TBR. I'm nearly at 50% of reading my pre-2025 TBR and my goal is to read all of it by the end of the year. So I do need to, sort of make a little bit of a concerted effort at this point in time. And I was inspired by a video series that Mara from Books Like Woe recently wrapped up. And I thought it would kind of be fun to take that and adapt it a little bit to my purposes for my own challenge. What Mara had done in her video series was she was reading down her TBR via the alphabet. So she was starting at A, she was finding a title, title or author or something that fit that prompt, trying to read through her TBR backlist. So we're going to do the same thing, except I'm going to keep it a little bit more concise. I think she was doing 4 or 5, maybe 6 books in a video, or just whenever she felt like updating it. I'm planning on probably doing 3 books in each video, maybe 4, depends how far I get and what's happening in the month and when the video needs to go live. I'm going to be going through my TBR. I'm going to be prioritizing my physical pre-2025 TBR first. Then if I don't have something that fits that, I can either go to my Kindle backlist or my 2025 TBR. Like, I have a rough idea of the books that I might pick up, but I'm actually going to leave it to chance after I finish the first book. Then I'm going to pick up the second book because there is a good chance that somewhere in there I might mood read something. So I can't really set a TBR for it. I'm hoping that this will kind of just be a good way to really specifically hit some of the targets that I need for particularly that bingo board from Hell prompt. The first book that I'm going to be reading, and this is probably the only time that I'm going to tell you what the book is before I review the book, is The Affair of the Mysterious Letter by Alexis Hall. This is the oldest physical book on my TBR. Starts with Affair, which is A, and it is a historical fantasy-ish or paranormal-ish kind of story. So I'm going to start there and we'll work through. Now, I should say, if I do DNF a book, I may choose to pick up another one, or I might just go on to the next letter. The reason that I might just go on to the next letter is because technically by DNFing it, I'm completing that off my physical TBR, but the completionist in me will probably choose another book. That's just the way that I work. Hi everyone, please excuse the lighting. I'm being super lazy and not getting out my actual light, so we're just using whatever light I'm getting from the windows, and I'm on the wrong side of the lounge room to get proper lighting. Anyway, that's beside the point. I'm back because I have read the first book for this challenge, which is a book that starts with, or that has a title that starts with A. And I think I said that I was going to try The Affair of the Mysterious Letter by Alexis Hall, but I was nervous about it. And yeah, I DNF'd it. I've still kept it because I might come back to it at some point. The thing that I've noticed, I love Alexis Hall's writing, I love his books, but the thing I've noticed particularly with his historical stories is that he has a very over-the-top writing style, which is fun when you're in the mood for it, but I'm really not. And so I just decided, you know what, I'm not going to force myself to read something, and it's unlikely I'm going to reach for it in the very near future. It's just not a style that I read very often. Like, I have to be in a certain frame of mind. Might be able to do it on an audiobook. I don't actually even know if there is an audiobook for it, so I might have to go searching, but I decided for now we're just gonna let it lie, which is fine because I've tried it and I've technically DNF'd it. But instead I picked up an ARC that I received this year, which is An Academic Affair by Jodi McAllister. So this is the ARC from Simon & Schuster. I picked it up when I was at a book signing earlier in the year. Jodi McAllister is an Australian author. This is an Australian contemporary romance between 2 academics who are rivals who end up in a marriage of convenience / fake marriage for work purposes. So Sadie and Jonah have known each other their entire academic careers. They started university together and they have had a very argumentative relationship ever since they first met, and they've always been competing for top of the class for all of the jobs as they've gone into academia. The thing that I love about this is Jodi is actually an academic. She has a PhD. I forget what her exact title is, but it is in romance books or popular literature or something like that. So she is very, very familiar with this scene, so it feels very authentic. Sadie and Jonah are now in their 30s, and the perfect job, the job that doesn't come up very often for academics, a permanent teaching position at a university has come up, and they've both got the perfect background for it. And so they're competing to get this job. When one of them gets it but the other doesn't, there is a clause in the contract for partner hire. And so despite the fact that they do nothing but argue with one another, they've team taught courses for a while, and the thing that they got feedback on was basically they each took different lectures but tore apart each other's lessons when it was their turn, and their students really enjoyed it because it was entertaining but also informative. So they've spent a lot of time together, and yeah, like it was, there's a lot of other little subtle nuanced things going on, like Jonah's sister. Her husband has revealed that he has another family and he's left his sister, and she's in Tasmania where the job is, and so he's desperate to get this job to go and help and support his family. Yeah, lots of little things going on in the background, but it was great. It was utterly delightful and fun, and a really good rivals to lovers story, because they don't always agree on everything, but they actually have more in common than they like to believe that they do. So this doesn't come out until the 4th of June, but if you're looking for an Australian contemporary romance set in Australia, there is a little bit of steam. It is open door, probably not as much as some other contemporary romance books, but it is there. And it is the ultimate slowest of slow burn, because even though they're married, like them actually admitting their real feelings is like here in the book, but it was so worth it. So highly recommend that. As for what I think I'm picking up next, I don't have any books that start with, I don't have any physical books that start with B from my 2024 or earlier purchases, but I do have The Blighted Stars by Megan O'Keefe, which admittedly, technically I did purchase in 2024, but it was added to my 2025 acquisitions list just because of rounding out numbers and making it even to track things, and it was kind of the last lot of books that I bought in like the last 2 days of the year. I know, I'm making up my own rules about how I count things, but anyway, I think I'm going to pick this up. It is over 450 pages, so that will be an interesting time. And I also think this might even count for a 25 and 25 prompt. It would be nice if I can tick that prompt off with this book as well. So hopefully this is not the curse of this video where I pick a book and then I don't read it. Hopefully I'm going to read it for you. Hi everyone. So I finished reading The Blighted Stars, which was my pick for the letter B for this little reading project. And this is a sci-fi space opera. It is huge in scope. It's a big book. It also has teeny tiny font writing, and in the end I had to get the digital copy so I could have larger text, just because otherwise I knew I was going to put it down if I was just kind of straining to read this small print. Because yes, this is a lot smaller than most printed books in terms of font size, and it's a really interesting book. So we start off kind of in the middle of the action. We are meeting the heir to sort of a business empire in space, whose family has kind of cornered the market on mining for this very precious sort of element that is crucial for how they've adapted their bodies to survive. So everyone in this society has a place and a role, and you can have certain enhancements in your body like speed or strength, or if you're a pilot of a ship, navigational knowledge, etc., threaded through your body, and it kind of creates like veins or lines on your skin, but it's all there by this metal that has been mined off planets. So humanity originally came from Sol, and in this book Tarquin and his father are at the 6th cradle, which is a human-like world that has this mineral, but they're there to test and see if there's been an infection, which has happened on the previous 5 worlds. As they're in space, something happens and their companion ship begins to fire on them. The other thing about this world is that everyone's mind can be saved and downloaded and then reprinted in new bodies, or reprinted in bodies that are better suited to them. So everyone on this ship their mind was in stasis, and when they got close to the planet, they were reprinted into new bodies. And as they're trying to escape this ship, Tarquin's father, who is a fairly ruthless businessman who may or may not have things going on, is reprinting a trader, one of his personal soldier bodyguards called an exemplar, into a new body. Everyone thinks it's an exemplar called Lockhart, but who he's really downloading into the body is Naira Sharp, who is our female protagonist, and she is a revolutionary. She used to be his personal bodyguard, but turned against him when she found out that he was personally poisoning these cradles for the sake of profit. And so she was captured, she was tortured, and he's planning on pinning the entire thing on her, which is why he's downloading her into a body that is close but not exactly hers. Long story short, a whole bunch of them, including Naira and Tarquin, end up on the planet. And there they discover that the planet is already ruined, but they also find these misprinted humans. So they're humans whose print has gone wrong. So their body parts are in the wrong place. Technically, they're mindless. They don't have a mind installed into them. And normally they shouldn't be able to move around, but for some reason they are. And it may or may not have to do with how this planet's mineral structure exists. And if all that sounds confusing, it kind of is. Like, it makes sense when you're reading it. Trying to explain it is really difficult. Nobody initially knows that Naira has been downloaded into the wrong body, and everyone thinks that she is a dangerous criminal. She is dangerous. She's had the training to be dangerous. She has to hide among them, and she basically acts as Tarquin's bodyguard in the absence of his father. And together they're working to try and uncover exactly what has happened on this planet and who is behind it, because they do think it is Tarquin's father, but it may or may not be him. As you get further into the book, it becomes really obvious that things are not quite as clear-cut as you first thought. So it blends a lot of different science fiction elements into it. I mean, they're stranded on an alien planet. They've got limited supplies. You've got this idea of humanity being almost immortal by the fact that you can just save you whenever you die, your mind can just be downloaded into a new body. If you haven't been uploaded since just before your death, you lose those memories of anything that happened between the previous print and now. That is certainly a plot point in the story. I find that a really fascinating concept because it's the second book I've read probably in about a month's time. Murder by Memory by Olivia Waite had that same idea of downloading a consciousness into a newly printed body. It's a really interesting book. I was expecting to love it more than I did. I think it had all the information you needed, but it was also quite a dense read. So it's not sort of a space opera I'd recommend to anyone who is just starting out with science fiction, unless any of those things sound interesting to you, because it's quite heavy on the details, which is good because you literally jump into the middle of the action, so you need the information to keep going. And it's drip-fed enough throughout the book as well that you don't get huge chunks of info dumping. But yeah, I feel like there are parts that were just a little bit slower that probably could have been tightened up. I've tried a new author. I'm glad I gave it a shot. So I will be back to update you guys. Sorry, I'm getting the glare from the windows on my glasses. I will be back to update you guys when I have read the next book. Another day, another Steph is too tired and can't get the light out because I just can't be bothered because I'm already sitting on the couch. I am back to update you with the third book that I have read, which is for the letter C, which is The Complete Poetry of Edgar Allan Poe, which if you followed my channel for a while, you know I like poetry. I like a lot more contemporary and modern poetry, but I do like diving into, poetry from the past. And in particular, like The Raven is a poem that I have, known for a very long time. And so I saw this, I think it must have been on like a little book shopping trip from Dimmicks, and it was only, it was less than $10. And I'm like, well, you know what? It would be kind of fun to explore the background of Edgar Allan Poe because I don't really know anything about it. He was a white guy living in the 1800s, so there's some problematic elements to his background. But for me, like going back and exploring some of these poems has been really interesting. I mean, the one thing I'll say is the reason that I don't read older titles, any kind of classic, anything like that, is I get really stuck on the formal and historical writing style. Like I'm such a contemporary modern language user that I do get stuck on things a little bit. But that said, there were little snippets and poems in here that I really adored. I mean, The Raven was one of them. It's just something I've loved for a long time because I love the sound of it. And that's the thing with poetry and me and my relationship with poetry really is that I like how things sound, and when there is a really well-crafted verse or even a couple of lines, it just resonates with me. The Raven is very haunting. But I also liked elements of, there's one called The City in the Sea. There were little parts that I liked in that. The Bells, which was really fun, is an onomatopoeia style poem that just evokes a lot of visual and auditory sort of memories for me, because I know a lot of the bell sounds that it's mentioning. I like to Dream, Evening Star as well. Like some of these poems I've never read before. Are there some problematic things about the author? Yes, but he's been dead for a while, so I'm not too worried about that. This is more sort of just broadening my poetry horizons because I tend to, as I said before, stick to very contemporary, modern sort of poetry, which is still my preference, honestly, but every now and then I like dipping my toes into something else. Now, I have decided I'm going to try and read one more book for this vlog, to do 4 books per vlog for the most part, so I'll be back with one more clip to round out this update of reading down my TBR. Hi everyone. So it has been a little while since I updated this vlog, and that's because I've been having some health things go on that I still don't have answers for at the moment. So my desire to film at the moment is very, very low, just because I'm feeling rather sorry for myself, but that's okay. I am mostly fine. I'm just trying to figure out, the cause of things and whatnot. So I've still got a whole bunch of tests and scans and things to come in the next sort of couple of weeks. But anyway, I did want to try and finish this vlog since I was only going to read one more book for it. I was planning on reading Do Not Fall in Love by Jackie Lau for the letter D. I read probably about 70 pages of it and I really just wasn't feeling it. It's not the kind of book that I'm in the mood for at the moment. So I've put it down, and instead I have picked up Detective Beans and the Case of the Missing Hat. This is by Chen. It is a middle fiction graphic novel. It is very cute. We are following Beans, who is a young cat who dreams of being a detective, loves to role play and act out scenes from their favourite detective show. And then one night, after putting their hat down, they wake up in the morning and their detective hat has gone missing, and so they are determined to track down what happened to it, and that leads them on a merry chase across the city as their hat ends up in a range of inexplicable places, and Detective Beans ends up helping to solve an actual crime in the process. The illustrations inside are really fun and really sweet. I know my class will really enjoy this one when I take it in. So I'm glad that I finally picked it up and read it. And so that brings us to the end of the first 4 letters of the alphabet and reading down my TBR, which has ultimately, I think, because I've had 2 DNFs, haven't I? It's been a while since I filmed it, so I can't remember exactly what's gone on, but I think it was 2 DNFs, so that's technically 6 books off my physical TBR, which is amazing. And yeah, we'll call this a successful start to this little mini series. So I will be back at some point kicking off with a book for the letter E. I think I know which book I'm reading. We'll see when I get there. But yeah, hopefully you enjoyed this weird little format. I mean, I'm going to be reading a lot of random things in here as I just try and find things that fit letters of the alphabet, but hopefully it will help me to tackle that pre-2025 TBR for the most part, which is my goal. In the comments, I would love to know, have you read any of these books? Are you planning on picking any of them up? Or what would you pick off your shelf for the letters A, B, C, or D if you were doing this challenge? Otherwise, feel free to leave a book stack emoji to let me know you're here. And I hope that wherever you are in the world, you are staying safe and healthy, and I will see you in my next video. Thanks so much for watching. Bye everyone.